Welcome to Lesson 6 of the Introduction to Python course. In this lesson, we'll be discussing virtual environments, packages, and pip, with a focus on creating virtual environments, activating and deactivating virtual environments, installing packages with pip, sharing project requirements so others can create a matching virtual environment, and deleting a virtual environment. So what is a virtual environment? A virtual environment provides a self-contained directory tree within its own Python installation and additional packages necessary for the project or the projects that are being done in that environment. A virtual environment is basically like a working space or environment in which the project and all the necessary packages needed for that project can exist. Scripts that have dependencies that are different from those in other developmental projects can be run in a virtual environment, and they may be running in the standard environment or in separate virtual environments. Hi, welcome to Lesson 6 of the Introduction to Python course. In this lesson, we will be discussing virtual environments, packages, and pip, with a focus on creating virtual environments, activating and deactivating virtual environments, installing packages with pip, sharing project requirements so that others can create a matching virtual environment, and deleting a virtual environment. In the programming world, we hear the word virtual environment used quite often. So what is a virtual environment? According to the Python documentation, a virtual environment is a Python environment such that the Python interpreter, libraries, and scripts installed into it are isolated from those installed in other virtual environments, and by default, any libraries installed as part of your operating system. So basically, a virtual environment provides a self-contained directory tree. It has its own installation of Python, as well as any other extra packages as required by the project that is being done within it. Let's try an exercise in which we will create, activate, deactivate, and delete a virtual environment. We will start by creating a virtual environment. To do this, we will use Python's built-in venv module. So first, let us open the terminal or the command prompt. Now we will enter this command to enter the PowerShell. So we will say cmd/PowerShell. Next, we will create the virtual environment using this command. So we say python -m venv. Now that our virtual environment is created, let's have a look at the directory contents. As we can see, we have the following content within this directory. Now the contents differ based on the operating system. In this directory, we'll find either scripts or a bin folder, depending on whether it is a Windows or Mac system that we are using. So in this case, we are using a Windows system, and that is why we find scripts. This folder contains a Python executable file and scripts for activating the virtual environment. Now to work within the virtual environment, we first need to activate it. So let's go back to our command prompt. The command for activating virtual environment varies depending on the operating system. Since this is a Windows computer, we will run the following command. We will say venv scripts activate. If this was a Mac or a Linux, we would say source venv bin activate. But here, since this is Windows, we just say venv scripts activate. Now you can see that we have entered the virtual environment. So the prompt text varies depending on the operating system, the terminal type, and the settings. But when the virtual environment is activated, its name will always appear enclosed in parentheses before the prompt, something like how you can see here. So we know that we are in the virtual environment when we see the virtual environment name in parentheses before the prompt. We can now invoke the Python interpreter and install different packages within the virtual environment. The path environment variable is altered when a virtual environment is activated. Because of this, the executable files are resolved within the virtual environment. Let's take a look at the value of this environment variable. So let's run this command in our environment. we will say echo path. We should see the path of the scripts directory prepended to the list of paths. That's basically what you can see over here. The scripts, or the bin directory, depending on your OS, will be scanned first to resolve references to executable files. Once we deactivate the virtual environment, the scripts, or the bin directory, will be removed from path. To deactivate the virtual environment, all we have to do is type in deactivate. This will take us back to the original prompt. Let's take a look. There we go. So we are now back to our original prompt because we have exited the virtual environment. We can delete a virtual environment by using OS commands to delete the folder. We can delete a virtual environment by using OS commands to delete the folder that was automatically built when we created the virtual environment. When we do this, all our work will be lost. So if we want to keep certain files, we need to save them somewhere else before deleting the virtual environment. We can do this by copy and pasting these files into another directory. Now we will come to Python packages with pip. A Python package is defined, very simply, as a collection of related modules in a folder. The Python package index is a collection of freely available Python packages that can be installed using pip. Let's consider an example. Let's say we want to install the play sound package that is available with Python. We can do that like this. So we say pip install, and then we put the name of the package, which in this case is play sound. Now, as you can see, it says that this cell is executing, which means that this package is being installed. Now, for me, it says that the requirement is already satisfied. That's because I already have PlaySound installed onto my system. But if you are installing it for the first time, you will get a lot more text than this, and finally it'll say that the package has been installed. Now, along similar lines, if you want to uninstall a package, we can use pip uninstall. All we have to do is say pip uninstall and the name of the package that we want to uninstall from our system. It's pretty much the same thing as pip install. All right, so now let's come to packages and virtual environments. So usually developers install packages within their virtual environment in order to keep their standard environment clean. For example, when we begin a new project, we create a new virtual environment for it, and then we install all the required packages within this virtual environment. So we can see a list of the different installed packages with the help of the list command. So we say pip list. This gives us something like this. So this shows us all the different packages that are available within this environment. And that's it. So in this lesson, we have learned how to create and use virtual environments, and we have learned how to install packages with pip.